Welcome back to our panel. With the fall of Title 42, migrants have few options under a different section of the federal code called Title 8 before reaching America's borders. They can seek humanitarian parole. They can try and get an appointment at a border checkpoint via a new app created by the federal government, or they can try to cross illegally. The first option, parole, is limited to 30,000 people per month and tends to favor wealthier migrants with connections in the U.S. The latter two, crossing illegally and applying via the app, both require applying for asylum. So, Sophia, how does one apply for asylum? What is that process like these days? Is a phone app feasible, in this world, or is that just a Band-Aid? Your take on this is interesting.
There have been a lot of changes to immigration policy under the Biden administration, and they haven't been positive. Each step has been to restrict access to the asylum system. So in the wake of lifting Title 42, the administration has said they will expand the use of expedited removal, which exists under Title 8, the Immigration and Nationality Act, and that also covers our asylum provisions. Expedited removal is nothing new. It has always existed. And what happens is when people enter the United States, they're placed in expedited removal. If they state that they are afraid to return to their country of nationality, they are placed into credible fear proceedings where they have to say that they are eligible for asylum under the law. And if they pass this credible fear interview, they can finally access the asylum system. If they fail, they are deported under expedited removal, and they are subjected to a 5-year ban on entry.
Wow.
Now, and that has always existed.
Okay.
What the Biden administration has done is create new regulations which make it harder to meet that initial screening for the credible fear process, harder to access the asylum system. They have stated that if you cross through a third country, which is typically Mexico, you are deemed ineligible for asylum unless you can establish an exception. And these are very narrow exceptions. So
what are some of those exceptions?
if you've been subjected to human trafficking, if at the time of entry you were experiencing a significant medical emergency or facing severe harm. Now, that is a very high standard to meet, but people are facing harm in Mexico. So it's to be seen how this will be applied by asylum officers along the border. In terms of another exception, the other exceptions are applying for an appointment through the CBP One app, which is requiring migrants to upload documents, upload their photos through an app that has security concerns. And that is the only way you can get an appointment at the port of entry.
That's the only way?
That is the only way you can get an appointment at the port of entry. So it's requiring due process through an app, which is just uniquely American in the worst possible way. People are fleeing violence and are forced to go through this process that doesn't even resemble due process. They're not able to go to a port of entry and say, can I please have asylum? I'm in danger here in Mexico. I'm in danger in my home country. So it's blocking off the asylum system.
Do we have a sense of where Mexico is coming from at this point politically on this, in their policy? Are they being cooperative in this idea? They just went through a Trump administration that was very difficult for them. Is there been a bounce in the Biden administration? Could it be better, the relationship?
There appears to be cooperation from the Mexican authorities to receive those who are subjected to expedited removal. They are receiving people from countries not from Mexico, for example, under the expedited removal process. With that said, the humanitarian infrastructure in Mexico is not sufficient to meet the needs of migrants and asylum seekers who are subjected to tremendous violence. I mean, just look at the fire not that long ago in Juarez, where 42 people died.
Oh boy, I've forgotten all about that. That's right too, son of a gun. Roberto, we've been so moved for years by your photographs documenting migration and the border. Why is this work so important to you, and what do you want people to know, to feel, to understand through your work?
It's always been an important issue ever since I started working the border in 2000. I think people also need to understand these are current situations that are so difficult to manage. All these folks are leaving their homes, leaving family behind due to violence, and I think they need to be given an opportunity to at least reestablish some sense of decency, to maybe one day, but many folks I spoke to, they wish they could go back in time, make some money, go back.
Okay.
But the way I see it, it's getting more difficult and more difficult. But I think it's so important to document, to be on the ground, to put a face on this struggle and this issue that's not going to go away anytime soon. And more than anything, listen to what they have to say. And I'm there to put a face, to describe, show, illustrate the human need, the humanitarian need to understand immigration on a much better scale.
How far off are we in our general understanding? Completely off? A little bit off?
I think we're way off.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't understand the situations in these countries.
Right.
You know, everyone just kind of groups them together. But each country is a little bit different, you know? Like in Guatemala, I mean, yes, there is violence, but there's also climate change happening now, which is starting to add to this whole equation. Honduras also, I mean, besides gangs, gang violence, a lot of people I spoke to at some of the shelters, they're fleeing because of climate change. They can no longer work their lands.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so it's getting more complex.
It sounds it. It sounds it. Algernon, before we wrap up here, I mentioned the national mood. Listen, a comprehensive immigration bill has not reached the president's desk in this 21st century. I mean, we haven't moved but an inch here. The last bipartisan immigration reform passed 1986, the Immigration Reform and Control Act. At the federal level, what needs to crack here? What needs to happen?
I don't know. It speaks to a profound failure of our political system. I mean, there are people who work seriously in policy who admit that this is a very challenging problem. It's very difficult to build a system that can actually accommodate the need in an orderly fashion. But it also requires what we call leadership and real political courage to straighten this out. You know, when Title 42 was about to expire, we were warned from the White House to expect chaos. That's the word that the White House used to describe this. But the chaos actually is not new. The chaos is the climate change of the farming families that no longer have land. It is the people who realize that their kids are being recruited by gangs and had nothing to do except throw what they could into a backpack and start walking. And what we have somehow managed to do by putting Band-Aids on it and postponing the real serious work, we've now created systems that not only perpetuate violence and enrich criminal syndicates, we've also somehow managed to create a caste system within migrants who are desperate enough to walk across continents. We've somehow managed a way to create a social class structure within this tormented group. And that's really saying something about our wisdom and our leadership.
Good point there. Last point there is an excellent one. Thanks again to this entire panel this week for helping viewers understand this complex set of issues and the humanity underneath them. Be sure to let us know what you think about this discussion on our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram pages, and catch any episodes you may have missed on the PBS app or your Roku or Smart TV.